We have got a lot to unpack today. We'll start with the Iran conflict, which is now entering another dangerous phase. Oil supply routes are being disrupted. Global markets are reacting, and we are already seeing shockwaves across Asia, including a very dramatic crash in South Korea's stock market. We'll break down what's happening, why investors are nervous, and what this could mean for the global economy and also Bitcoin. Then we move into a growing tech and privacy debate. A new controversy around Meta smart glasses is raising serious questions about how wearable devices collect and use personal data. As devices like smart glasses become more common, the big question becomes who owns the data around us and how do we protect ourselves? And speaking of wearable technology, we are very excited to bring you a very special interview from Hong Kong Science Park. Today, we'll meet one of the winners from the WT Technologies Hackathon. Joining us will be the second place team, Lighthouse Tech, the creators of TAMI smart eyewear frames. They will share the idea and explain how future wearable devices could actually help protect user privacy, not compromise it. Finally, we also look at some major developments in the crypto world, including a historic moment where Kraken gains direct access to the Federal Reserve's payment system and the White House nomination of Kevin Warsh, a rare Federal Reserve candidate who has spoken positively about Bitcoin. So we've got the conflicts going on, markets, AI privacy, wearable technology, and crypto policy all in one show today. So without further ado, let's get started with our first news. So here is the update of the whole Iran conflict. So the conflict involving Iran is entering day 6, and tensions are still rising. Thousands of supporters of the Iranian government were seen in the streets chanting "Death to America," showing strong anger toward the United States as the conflict continues. But as for the most of the countries that joined the "Death to America," the slogan, the protest, there are countries, of course, in Iran, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq, and Pakistan, etc. So according to the Pentagon, this war or this conflict could get even worse. U.S. Defense Secretary held a press briefing earlier today. He said the U.S. now has around 50,000 troops deployed across the region, with more forces arriving. He also said the U.S. military has almost achieved full air superiority, so meaning it largely controls the skies. Because of that, the next phase of the campaign could involve heavier weapons, including 500-pound, 1,000-pound, and even 2,000-pound bombs. So his message are very loud and clear. He said, well, we have only just begun. At the same time, the human cost of the conflict is rising. Reports said the death toll in Iran has now passed more than 1,045 people. Iran's Revolutionary Guard also said its ground forces has now entered the fight for the first time, launching several operations using more than 200 attack drones. However, U.S. military officials say Iran's ability to respond is getting weaker as the conflict continues, but Iran said it will not negotiate right now. Some analysts believe Iran wants to increase pressure on the United States before any talks would begin. So this war is also beginning to affect other countries in the region. There were explosions reported near the U.S. consulate in Dubai, raising concerns that the conflict could spread even further. Because of rising security risk, U.S. embassies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Lebanon have been closed. The U.S. State Department has also issued a warning telling all Americans in the Middle East to leave the region immediately. Meanwhile, Israel announced 2 major developments. First, Israel forces reportedly killed a senior commander in Iran's Revolutionary Guard. He was believed to be involved in several overseas operations. Second, Israel Defense Minister issued a very strong warning. So he said whoever eventually replaces Iran's supreme leader could become a military target. So now let's actually move on to the oil price, the general global economic impact. So the Strait of Hormuz, of course, is one of the world's most important oil shipping routes, is now effectively disrupted. Normally, we're talking about 60 oil tankers pass through this area every single day, but on Monday, only 2 tankers were able to move through the region, and that is, of course, a massive drop. As a result, oil prices are jumping higher and higher. So we could see that very clearly on 28th of February. That was when the attack took place. And right now for Brent crude oil is sitting at $83 per barrel. So the Brent so crude oil is up about like 17% since the strikes began, and we are already seeing the effect on consumers. For example, in the United States, gasoline prices jumped 12%, 12 cents in a single day, pushing the national average above $3 per gallon for the first time this year. Lawmakers in Washington, D.C. are also watching this very closely. Both the House and Senate are expected to hold votes this week on the War Powers Act, which could determine how long the U.S. military stays involved in this conflict. So now let's turn to the market as well, because this conflict is already sending shockwaves through Asia. South Korea, so the main index, KOSPI, it crashed more than 12% yesterday, marking its worst day on record. However, if we take a look at the today's performance, is like having a V-shaped performance. So it's coming back a little bit. So it popped 9.6% on today's price. So actually, if we zoom out, this is very much a V-shaped recover, though we haven't recovered to the previous 5 days ago's price. So if we also include Tuesday's drop as well, the market has now fallen like 20% in just 2 days. Trading was so chaotic that circuit breakers would trigger, temporarily stopping the market to calm investors. Some of the South Korea's biggest companies were hit very hard. We covered this a little bit on Roxham TV on yesterday's show. So, for example, Samsung, which encounter a lot of that index on the whole South Korea KOSPI index. So, Samsung on the past 5 days is down 6%, but today again it managed to recover a lot. So, right now it's sitting at 191,000 Korean won. So the question that people were asking, like, why was South Korea hit so badly across the whole Asia? Well, one of the big reasons why South Korea was the one region that affected the most is because energy dependence. So South Korea imports almost all of its oil, and about 70% of that oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So when that shipping route is threatened, the country's economy becomes extremely vulnerable. That's also a technological angle here. And companies like Samsung and SK Hynix produce the memory chips that power the global AI boom. Together, they make up nearly half of the Korean stock market index. So when those companies drop, the entire market falls with them. Another factor is margin debt. Many investors have been buying stocks using borrowed money. So sometimes putting down only 30 to 40% of that value. So when prices start to fall like this, those leverage positions were forced to liquidate, and that turned a very a sell-off into a full-scale crash. So there's also another layer added to this. So there's also the tariff. So the US government just confirmed that a new 15% tariff on all imports will take effect this week. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he said the tariffs will remain in place for about 5 months while the administration works on a permanent trade policy. This comes after the Supreme Court struck down earlier tariffs, forcing the government to find another legal path. But the timing is important. Energy prices are already rising because of the conflict. Inflation risks are rising, and now businesses are facing a 15% tax on imported goods. Stock futures have been recovering earlier in the day, but after the tariff announcement, markets quickly reversed lower yet again. So when you put everything together, we have the conflict, oil prices, market volatility, and new tariffs. Investors are facing a very uncertain economic environment right now, and that's why global markets are watching these developments very, very closely. And of course, when there are more developments, more news about this attack, we will cover that here on Roxham TV. Now, let's turn to a big story in the AI world. A growing online movement called Quit ChatGPT is gaining momentum. More than 2.5 million people have pledged to stop using ChatGPT and switch to other AI tools. This backlash started after OpenAI signed a deal with the Pentagon to deploy its AI models on classified military networks. The controversy grew even bigger because another AI company, so Anthropic, the creator of Claude, reportedly refused the same contract. Anthropic said it would not allow its AI to be used for mass surveillance of citizens or autonomous weapons. After the decision, the Pentagon ended negotiations with Anthropic. At the same time, OpenAI, what they did is that they stepped in and signed the contract and signed the agreement with the Pentagon. So that decision triggered a wave of criticism online. Within days, what we have witnessed is that ChatGPT, the app, uninstall rates surge. 1-star reviews jump over 700%. And of course, Anthropic's, the Claude model became the #1 free download app in the US App Store. The movement quickly spread across Reddit, Twitter, and tech communities, with users posting screenshots showing they had deleted the ChatGPT account. So here's something many users may not realize, even though they have deleted the ChatGPT account. So right now, I think it's a good time to cover the method of how to actually do it properly if you were to delete the ChatGPT account. Not to encourage that you should, but there's an article sharing step by step of how to do it properly, and this does matter because deleting the ChatGPT app does not delete your data. Your chat history, prompts, writing style, interactions may still very much remain on OpenAI servers. That's because ChatGPT has historically used user conversations to train its AI model. So what this means in simple terms is that every question you ask on ChatGPT, every correction you make, every workflow you build, all of that could potentially help train future AI models unless you manually turn those settings off. So if someone decides to leave ChatGPT, here are what the experts are saying. There are several important steps that you should take first. So first one is first thing users should do is to download the conversation history on ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a built-in export feature that allows you to download a file containing your entire chat history, all prompts and responses, timestamps, and model versions. Once your account is deleted, that data is gone permanently. So exporting your data first allows you to keep a copy of your research, note, or projects. Another step, and very important step, is to turn off the setting that allows OpenAI to use your conversations to train its models. This setting is enabled by default for many users. Turning it off prevents future conversations from being used in AI training. It won't remove past data already used, but it stops new conversations from being added to the training pipeline. Step 3 is that ChatGPT also has a memory system that stores certain information about users. So that would eventually include your writing style, personal preferences, your job, your interests, how you typically use the AI. Users can actually go into the setting and review these saved memories. Many people are surprised by how much the system has learned about them. Before deleting the account, experts recommend saving a copy of these memories and deleting them from the system. And next, users should also delete all conversation history. This removes chats from OpenAI's server. It's also important to check third-party app connections. Some users connect ChatGPT to services like Gmail, Google Drive, Slack, calendar apps, and those integrations may allow ChatGPT to access documents, emails, or other data. So revoking those permissions ensures no additional information remains linked to that account. Another common mistake users are making involves subscriptions. So if you subscribe to ChatGPT through the Apple App Store or Google Play, deleting your account does not automatically cancel the payment. So users still have to cancel the subscription directly through the App Store or Play Store settings. Otherwise, the billing will continue. Final step, so after backing up your data, clearing settings, users can finally delete their OpenAI account. So once submitted, OpenAI says the company will remove the data from its server within about 30 days, although some information may be kept longer for legal reasons. One important note here is that after deleting your account, you cannot sign up again with the same email address for at least 30 days. So the bigger picture, so here for this story, like this is not just about one company alone. It actually reflects a growing debate about AI ethics, privacy, and how powerful AI systems should be used. Some users are switching to alternatives, so the major competitor, Claude, while others are exploring AI tools that focus more on privacy or local processing. But the key takeaway is quite simple. If you ever decide to leave a platform like ChatGPT, make sure you take your data with you first before, because like deleting the app alone does not mean your data will disappear. So let's turn the next story into, so there's embracing serious privacy concerns in the tech world. So the next story is about wearable devices, so Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses are now under scrutiny after a new investigation revealed how footage from the devices may be used to train AI systems. The glasses are developed by Meta and Ray-Ban. These glasses would eventually allow users to record videos, take photos, and interact with an AI assistant directly from the glasses. The product has been very popular so far. More than 7 million pairs were sold in 2025, making it one of the fastest growing wearable tech products on the market. But now regulators and privacy advocates are asking a very important question. Where is all that recorded footage going? So, according to an investigation by Swedish newspapers, some of the videos recorded by the glasses were reviewed by AI training contractors in Kenya. These contractors they would do is to help train Meta's AI systems by labeling and reviewing images, videos, and speech data. But workers involved in that process say some of that footage they reviewed was extremely sensitive. For example, contractors said they saw videos showing people using bathroom, getting dressed or undressed, entering private places, or even intimate situations between couples. Workers said many of the people in these videos likely did not realize they were being recorded, and because the glasses look like a normal eyewear people would wear around every single day. People around the wearer may not even know the camera is still running. So there's a privacy advocates say this raised a major issue. When someone wears these glasses in public, other people around them cannot give consent to be recorded in the first place. That means strangers in public places or even private spaces could be filmed without knowing it. Experts say this becomes even more concerning when the footage is later used to train artificial intelligence systems, because the videos may contain faces, voices, personal environments, or other identifying information. So critics say the technology could unintentionally collect very personal data from people who never agreed to be part of it. And because of these concerns, regulators are beginning to take action. The U.S. Information Commissioner Office, which oversees data protection law, said it is now asking Meta for more information about how the company handles data collected by these glasses. Regulators, what they want to know is basically how the data is stored, how it is used to train AI, and whether users and the public are given enough transparency and control. Officials say any device collecting personal data must clearly explain how that information is used and protected. So, as for Meta, how they responded, Meta said footages from the glasses may sometimes be reviewed by humans as part of improving its AI systems. According to Meta's terms of service, user interactions with its AI products can be reviewed in many different ways that could include automated AI processing, human review, or analysis by third-party contractors. The company said these processes are used to improve its services and ensure safety and policy compliance. Meta also say it applies filters before human review to help protect user privacy. However, critics say the investigation shows sensitive material may still slip through the system. So the bigger picture here, the bigger issue in a society is about the future of wearable technology. Devices like smart glasses, body cameras, and AI assistants are becoming more common, but as these devices become more powerful, they also raise new questions like who controls the data, who gets recorded, and how that data is used to train AI systems. In other words, technology that captures the world around us may also be collecting far more information than people realize. And that's why regulators around the world are now paying very close attention to devices like Meta's smart glasses. And speaking of this wearable devices, we actually interviewed the WT Technology the team yesterday on Roxham TV show, and this would also be a perfect opportunity for me to bring up my guest to the show. So he's the expert of wearable devices in the field. Joining us now is the founder and CTO of Lighthouse Tech. So let's get him on the show right now. Now, speaking of wearables and privacy, today actually marks the final day of the WT Technology event here at the Hong Kong Science Park. And we are very fortunate to have one of the winners joining us today. So, Andrew from Lighthouse Tech, the team behind TAMI smart glasses, the smart eyewear frames, which won second place at the hackathon. Since we have been just like discussing about the privacy concern around wearable devices, this is actually the perfect moment to hear from someone building technology in this space. So, Andrew, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on winning the second place at the WT event here at the Hong Kong Science Park. And I wonder, how does that recognition feel for your team and for yourself as well? I think you're muted.
So now it is. Thank you for the
Yeah,
invitation.
there you go.
The recognition is very important for us since we are starting to enter the Asian market right now after a good start in Switzerland, our home state, and Europe. And having the opportunity to speak in Hong Kong is for us very, very important.
Yes, so I'm very eager to learn more about the TAMI smart glasses. So for our viewers out there who are just hearing about the glasses for the first time, could you explain to me what these glasses do? Why do we need these glasses in your opinion?
Sure. The smart eyewear frame that we have developed is a special design for a blind and low vision people. We detect obstacles that are above the waist area. So everything on the ground is well detected still now by the white cane, but around your torso and around your head, there is no method nowadays to prevent collisions. And that's why we developed the eyewear frame with radar sensors on the side, giving the user a haptic feedback on possible objects or obstacles, and so alerting the user with a soft vibration, and so that the user can actually be careful and move around obstacles in a more free and more safe way.
So that sounds very interesting, and I'm sure this is a going to be very useful for a lot of people out there. So there's a great market out there. So could you dive into a little bit of the technical, how it works, or mostly the user experience, like when they are wearing those glasses? Because like if they can't see there's an obstacle in front of them, what would happen to the glasses? Is there some vibration going on? So is it like work? How it works is similar to a guard dog. So maybe there's an obstacle, then there's some vibration, or basically, how does that work?
Yes, you got it correct. Our feedback is a vibration. The user gets a vibration directly on the skull through this special part of the glasses here. And they work in indoor and outdoor mode with different distances set up so that different obstacles can be detected on real time. And the user gets very easily alerted of possible collisions.
Yeah, so one thing I find interesting is that from what I heard, you chose to use the radar sensors instead of cameras. So why did you go with that technology? Is there any pros and cons for each method out there? Maybe just like a brief explanation to our viewers, what is the difference between sensors and also cameras?
There are two main reasons. The one is technical. So cameras need a higher computational power and actually bigger batteries and heavier mounting. So we wanted to have a product which is actually really wearable and really usable every day. So lightweight and comfortable. And that's one technical reason for avoiding the cameras all along. And also we have a device which is a full working device, all in one. We don't need mobile phone or connectivity at all. That's achieved with edge AI algorithms, which use the radar sensor. The second reason why we choose not to use cameras is because from the beginning we were concerned with privacy. And by not having a camera, we cannot take pictures, and no picture travel on the internet or anywhere else. So saving the space and the power and the weight given by this sensor, and saving also the user by possible privacy concerns, is what made us decide not to use cameras.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point because one thing about these wearable smart glasses is when it comes to the camera and the privacy concern. Because like one news we were covering here on Roxham TV, literally just before the interview, is that Meta glasses that happen to raise so many concerns because like apparently they were capturing all these footages and they would send to some team in Kenya, in Africa, so for the team to basically help tag and help train the AI better. So there is like a lot of concern about using cameras, so adding that to wearables. So I wonder for TAMI, the glasses, like I know that you guys chose for sensor instead of camera. So what else? Like how do you target the basically help improve the privacy concern that public might have?
Exactly. The thing is, right now we are measuring with our radar just distances to objects or distances to a person, to a tree, to street signals, and so on. And by not capturing their image, the privacy concern is not there. I mean, there is no problem at all involving privacy of the people. And also, you can use the glasses. You can use them in critical areas like airports or security zones without any problem. And that's since this is a built-in characteristic of the device, so we are not using any recording, being them audio recording or video recording. We are safe to any criticism concerning privacy laws and privacy of the people.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit there. So, Temi, the glasses use only radar instead of any camera. So, I wonder for the glasses, does it collect any data or store any personal data at all, or is something processed directly on the glasses itself?
The question is correct. We do not store any data. We do not collect any data other than the data used at the moment of the detection. And the device is an all-in-one working device where the algorithms are inside the glasses. The data from the sensor, so the front part of the sensor, is processed and given to the actuator, so the haptic part on the back of the glasses, in real time. And no data is exchanged with the outside world. We don't need mobile phone connectivity. We don't need cloud connectivity. We don't need any kind of connectivity sending data outside of the glasses. So that's why our device is completely safe.
That's great to hear. And I'm sure that resolve a lot of concerns that publics have or the viewers of Roxham TV might have in mind. So I wonder for the glasses, for Temi glasses, like have you guys received any very powerful feedback from users so far, or is still like waiting to get to the market in this stage of point?
We started the development of the TAMI 4 to 5 years ago, and from the beginning, we had blind and low vision people in the team helping us refine the features and develop the whole product. We entered the market last summer, and now our frame has been tested by more than 1,000 people and has been bought by hundreds of people all around the world. So the feedbacks are very positive. We are looking up to scale up the production numbers and enter new markets, and that's also why we are setting foot here in Hong Kong at the Wearable Technology Competition, and that's where we are right now. So scaling up from the center of Europe into the rest of the world.
Yes, I love to hear that. So, like, after being in like multiple tested by more than 1,000 people, I wonder at this stage of the company, what else is the biggest challenge in building this technology and push it to the next level, in your opinion?
Our customer base is somehow difficult to reach, because unfortunately blind people tend to stay at home, tend not to walk around there, and tend to not participate to public events or such other fairs or similar. Therefore, also our business model is a B2B2C model, in the sense that we reach out for assistive technology distributors or associations, so blind associations or hospitals, for example, specialized hospitals that help us reach the major number of people having eye diseases or eye problem. Another customer base on which we are working on are temporary blind people. For example, after a brain stroke, very often it happens that you lose your sight for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and you're surely not going to learn how to use the white cane or to train a dog for these temporary situations. And our glasses can be learned in like 5 to 10 minutes. So this is a second market that we are approaching right now. And the B2B approach allows us to reach a wide customer base, which would be otherwise unreachable.
Yes, I really love that idea and how the team is targeting in a very niche market, but yet very meaningful for our society. So finally, like my final question is that if our viewers out there want to know more about the glasses, basically if there are relatives that really need these glasses, where is the best way to reach out to you guys or maybe learn about the latest developments from the team?
Of course, you said it is a niche market, but nonetheless, it's affecting 300 million people around the world, and is set up to double that number by 2050, mainly because the people are getting older and older. And the best way to reach for us and to also already buy one of the glasses is through our website, www.lighthousetech.ch, or look up on Google for us, Lighthouse Tech, and the product name is TAMI. Anyway, it might be that we are closing a partnership for Hong Kong and the Asian countries very soon, so stay tuned for the next news.
Amazing, Andrew. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the story behind TAMI. It's really exciting to see innovation like this coming out from the WT Technology event here in Hong Kong, in Hong Kong Science Park. So we are going to take a short break here, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we are diving straight into the world of Bitcoin and some major developments that is happening right now. So stay with us.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right? Bitcoin, no!
Bitcoin! Come on, little buddy! Bitcoin! I need you! Don't go!
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxum, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxum, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back to Roxham TV, and thanks for sticking around with us. Let's now turn to a major development in the crypto industry. So, crypto exchange Kraken has just become the first Bitcoin and crypto company to gain direct access to the US Federal Reserve's payment system. Kraken's banking division, so called Kraken Financial, has granted a Federal Reserve master account, and this is a big deal because a federal master account that would allow an institution to connect directly to the central bank's core payment infrastructure. So, for those of you who don't know or first time hearing about a Federal Reserve master account, so basically it gives banks access to FedWire, which is the system used by financial institutions to move money between each other. FedWire processes trillions of dollars in transactions every single day. Normally, only traditional banks are allowed to access this system directly. But with this proposal, Kraken can now settle payments directly with the Federal Reserve instead of relying on the intermediary banks. In simple terms, this gives the crypto firm a much more direct connection to the US financial system. However, regulators did place some limits on the account. So reports said Kraken received what's called a restricted or a skinny master account. That means Kraken does not receive all the privilege traditional banks have. For example, Kraken will not earn interest on reserves held at the Federal Reserve. Regulators say these restrictions are meant to protect the stability of the US financial system while still allowing fintech companies limited access to the system. But even with these restrictions, the approval is still very significant. Historically speaking, Federal Reserve master accounts were almost exclusively reserved for traditional banks. So allowing a Bitcoin and crypto company to access the system signals a broader shift. It suggests that digital asset firms are slowly being integrated into the core infrastructure of the financial system. In other words, crypto companies are moving closer to the plumbing of traditional finance. So the bigger picture here for the crypto industry, this could be another major, very important step toward greater legitimacy and institutional adoption. Direct access to central bank payment rails could make it easier for crypto companies to move funds, settle transactions, and connect with the banking system. At the same time, regulators are clearly moving very cautiously, putting guardrails in place as digital asset companies enter the traditional financial system. But the key takeaway here is quite simple. For the first time, a Bitcoin and crypto firm has now entered direct line into the Federal Reserve's payment infrastructure, and that could signal a new phase in the relationship between crypto and also traditional finance. Let's move on to another very important development coming from Washington. So the White House has officially nominated Kevin Warsh to become the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. His nomination has now been formally sent to the US Senate, where lawmakers will decide whether to confirm him. If approved, Kevin Warsh would serve two major roles. So the first one, of course, is going to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve for a 4-year term. And the second one, he's also going to be the Federal Reserve governor for a 14-year term. That makes him one of the most powerful figures in global finance, responsible for guiding interest rates, liquidity, and monetary policy in the United States. And what makes this nomination especially interesting is Kevin Warsh's past comments about Bitcoin. Unlike many policymakers who have criticized crypto, Kevin Warsh has spoken about Bitcoin in a very surprisingly calm and neutral tone. In a previous interview with the Hoover Institution, Kevin Warsh pushed back against the idea that Bitcoin should simply be dismissed. He said he often hears a little bit of consent for superiority toward people who actually hold Bitcoin, and he added something that caught the attention of many investors. Like Kevin Warsh said, Bitcoin does not make him nervous. He said he went further and described Bitcoin as an important asset and even suggested it could act as a form of market discipline for government policy. In other words, he sees Bitcoin less as a threat, but more as a signal where monetary policy is going wrong. Now the nomination still faces a long political process. Before Kevin Warsh can actually become the Fed chair, he still has to go through a Senate Banking Committee hearing and a full Senate confirmation vote. And early reports suggest that process could become politically complicated. At least one Republican senator has already suggested blocking Federal Reserve nominees because of a separate investigation involving the current Fed chair, Jerome Powell himself. So the confirmation process could involve significant political friction in Washington, D.C. For investors and for viewers of Roxham TV, like the reason this nomination matter is quite simple. The Federal Reserve sets the direction of the entire financial system. So whoever leads the Fed will influence first, of course, interest rates, so as the liquidity in the economy, and then inflation policy and the overall direction of the global markets. And that's why investors will be watching Kevin Warsh's nomination process very closely in the weeks ahead, because whoever leads the Federal Reserve can shape the direction of the global financial system, and can shape the financial global system. So we will take a short break now. And when we come back, we will join by a very special guest from the Bitcoin world, someone doing very incredible work to grow Bitcoin adoption among women in India. So don't go away. Stay with us here on Roxham TV.
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
In a world far away. Nah, just kidding. This story begins in this world. It all started in 1460 in Antwerp, when the first commodities exchange was created, but the real transformation came in 1602, when the Amsterdam Stock Exchange was founded. Considered the oldest in the world, it was the first to trade financial assets. Over the years, Britain expanded its colonial and maritime influence, and the British pound sterling overtook the Dutch guilder in the market. Thus, the London Stock Exchange became the financial centre of the world. The 20th century came, and the world got into some trouble. But shortly after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and the centre of the planet moved to Wall Street. Today, we're travelling at the speed of light towards a new age, an era shaped by the consolidation of Bitcoin as the currency that will define the future of the markets. We present Roxham, a new Bitcoin-denominated market that allows trading all sorts of securities, commodities, derivatives, options, and anything you can imagine. Roxham, rock-solid markets.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index is collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Welcome back to the show, and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. We've now got a special segment coming out today because we are joined by a very interesting guest from the global Bitcoin community. Joining us now is Shambhavi, also known online as the Bitcoin Girl. Shambhavi is a Bitcoin educator and writer based in India, and she's the founder of Bitcoin Her 21, which is a growing, intuitive focus on helping more women learn about Bitcoin, self-custody, and financial independence. She's been organizing workshops, community events, university talks across India to make Bitcoin easier to understand for beginners. So, Shambhavi, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Kwame, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah, since this is your first time here on Roxham TV Hong Kong, why don't we start with a little bit background of yourself? So basically, how did your Bitcoin journey get started? What was the moment you feel like, okay, this is the time that we should go all in on Bitcoin?
Okay, that's interesting. So I was a journalism kid, and while I was in college, I used to write articles on Bitcoin because that used to pay me a lot. I did not much know about Bitcoin back at the time. And while writing about it, naturally, it required a lot of research, and I ended up learning more and more about money. I figured that the independence that I run after and seek for myself via money, that money itself is controlled. And I think when that particular moment hit, I was like, Bitcoin makes sense, and this is the place, and this is a thing I should be telling other people about as well.
Yeah, so one thing interesting about you is that you focus on Bitcoin only. So this leads me perfectly to the next question. Why not the general crypto space? Like there are millions of altcoins, millions of tokens out there. Why you focus on Bitcoin only though?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So why Bitcoin only? Because Bitcoin is the only hard money amongst all these little cryptos that we have around. I mean, crypto is cool, don't get me wrong. People are doing great stuff on different chains. But somehow I am not in on the idea that we fail to differentiate between a hard money and a token which represents a certain blockchain. So these are like two very widely different things. Bitcoin was created to solve a very nascent problem, that was the fact that our money wasn't sound enough. And I don't think any other crypto is doing that job. So the base problem right now is the fact that our money isn't doing great, and we need to shift to a better money. The better money is Bitcoin. And other cryptos, while they are doing absolutely awesome and great, they do not quite fulfill this functionality.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure a lot of our viewers out there, especially in Roxham TV, would agree with the statement that you just put out there. So, like, you as a woman building all these like Bitcoin community, Bitcoin space in India, I'm sure you face a lot of challenges throughout the journey. Like, could you share a little bit more about the basically the inside of the Bitcoin scene, building a Bitcoin community in India? What sort of challenges you faced before?
So if I'm being quite honest, I don't think I faced much of any challenges while I was doing that, because this just popped out as a general idea that maybe there should be a community for women, because more and more I used to attend these spaces, the lesser women I used to see, and I was confused, thinking, okay, women are smart creatures, why are they not at a Bitcoin gathering? And I thought, why not just create a group, see who all wants to learn about it. I was not very bullish on it. I just did it as fun, or maybe I don't know, just to get women together. And within 48 hours, I had like the first 65 members of the group. So which was high signal, which means that women wanted to learn about Bitcoin, and they just needed a space to do that. So really not much of a challenge. It's just everything came together, everybody came together, and then the execution as well was pretty simple, because everybody from the community as well as my male peers were very supportive of the idea. They were constantly guiding me through what can be done better. So I think I was in quite an advantageous position when I started this.
Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. Because so far I have seen many crypto women in Web3 group here in Hong Kong as well, and also around the world. So when I talk to women in this space, like first of all, we are rare creatures. And then I like to talk to others and basically share what they have encountered. So I wonder locally there in India for the Bitcoin space, Bitcoin adoption, are they mainly male as well, or there are also a lot of women participants?
So, yeah, the Bitcoin space in India currently remains highly male dominant. And if you enter a room, you'll see 96, 97% guys, probably two or three girls at best. So, yeah, this 100% is pretty male dominant. I'm yet to figure out why has this been the case, but I think my argument has always remained that the autonomy of money was not something we were quite used to handling. The women, now that we are working jobs, we are all working professionals making money, the questions popping, how do we manage that money? That's where the Bitcoin curiosity is coming in, because we all are witnessing the inflation, the situation of money printing all across the world, not just in India. So we have an inherent realization that we do need to shift to a better currency. So the curiosity is there. I think the autonomy of the money part is where we need a little bit of work.
Yeah, so like I think one thing we share similarities between the cultures, because like I'm here in Hong Kong and then India, like both these two regions, they have a slightly more traditional mindset compared to the
Right.
West. Because like personally, when I talked to my mom about entering Bitcoin initially, she found it very difficult to believe because like Bitcoin sounds like some magical internet
Yeah.
money. It sounds like a scam. So I wonder for your own experience, when you talk to your family, how did they react of basically buying Bitcoin, and especially women in the Bitcoin space? Is there any reaction you could share?
Yeah, so I think I started my first job with Uno Coin back in 2022, and I told my mom that, oh, okay, I've gotten this job. It's a Bitcoin company, this and that. To my utter surprise, she said that she's been buying Bitcoin since 2019, and now that I'm working for a company in this business, she's like, why don't you like tell me what do I do with these? How do I do next? So I like walked her through self custody and stuff. My father still remains quite skeptical. We come from a family of gold merchants, so obviously he's always been pretty bullish on gold, and somehow the idea doesn't click for him. But my brother also now is a big time Bitcoiner after I think a good deal of time of staying skeptical. So yeah, more than half of 75% of my family is now bullish on Bitcoin.
That is a very interesting story that you just shared. Like the fact your mom is more forward thinking than your dad, like that's certainly that leads me perfectly to the next question I want to ask. Like it's like general speaking, Indian women they have more maybe more curious to learn about how money works or how to earn money, make more money than male in India, or basically it's case by case basis. It doesn't really matter.
I think it's yeah, case by case, but where you're based in India definitely plays a major role in it. So if you're in a top tier city in India, you see the inflation all around you. You're a woman earning great deal of money, but you still are confused as to like how do I prevent my purchasing power? High time preference is something that everybody can feel over here, but the same cannot be said for tier two cities. I feel that is not a place where I think men and women in general are concerned about what's happening to their money. And I don't mean to generalize, but then from my statistical experience of meeting Bitcoiners in tier one cities versus tier two cities, this is what I feel is having, because tier one cities see a harsher version of inflation around them. So these guys are more worried about their money, building a life, and things like that, as opposed to tier two cities. So yeah, maybe it's case to case, but slowly and gradually everyone's waking up to it. This is for sure.
Yeah, now that I'm very curious, because like from what you just told me, there is general curiosity from the whole Indian market about towards Bitcoin as well. But like, what inspired you to start Bitcoin Herd 21, specifically speaking, or instead of like a general Bitcoin community for everyone in India?
Okay, so we do have a bunch of communities for Bitcoiners in India, even some bifurcated basis, the city or the regions. But then all of these groups, somehow I'm in all of these groups, but there's very less number of women in any of these groups. Plus, whenever I used to visit an in-person event, I used to see sometimes new faces, but those new faces would never return. Maybe they were just because they were just too intimidated by the fact that this is so male dominant, or this is what I feel, because when I first went to my Bitcoin gathering here in India, it was just me and another girl who attended, and the rest of the crowd was all men. I did not quite feel intimidated because I had known these guys for quite some time, and I was friendly with them. But then I can't say that about a lot of first time attendees to these events. I thought maybe it's high time that we create a space which retains them, retains their curiosity, satiates their curiosity, and at the end, help them get where they want to get with the knowledge of right money.
That's interesting. So you also hit a milestone, like your community reached 100 women in the space. So I wonder, how did that milestone hit you? How did it feel?
I think that was just a testament to the fact that there's a very high signal for women in India who want to learn about Bitcoin. I just concluded my first luncheon in Bombay last weekend, and over 17, 18 women showed up to that luncheon. Everybody was pretty bullish on Bitcoin. We were all talking about investments. We were all talking about the high time preference that we have shifted to. There's a very high signal, and as far as it goes, to 100 women joining the community, I see that as a testament to it, and it definitely hit me thinking that maybe I was too skeptical when I was thinking about starting this community. Maybe it was the right call to do that.
Yeah, so since you hosted an event, as you mentioned in Bombay, I wonder what was the general reaction that you saw from the women attending? Was they asking a lot of questions about like self custody, or they just focus on the financial aspect, the financial return of BTC?
I think we discussed about a lot of things, one of them being gold, and how gold was the reason why gold has been considered as the Stridhan, or the women's wealth in Hindi. Why has it been passed on for generations? Why have our ancestors hoarded so much gold and we still do? So we started there. We figured why Bitcoin is now the thing that we need to move down to. We all aligned on the ideas of money, the way it's been deteriorating against the US dollar, especially rupees, the way it's been deteriorating against the US dollar, while US itself has been seeing some inflation decline in the value of their own currency. All of those things got us to think that okay, we got to shift to a better currency. Obviously, one of the major or the highlight reactions were when I told them that our INR is not backed by the gold reserve anymore. So they were like, what, really? And I'm like, yeah. And there were many such moments when we were talking about, some of us were talking about investments in crypto, and then we had a little fun banter on why crypto, why not Bitcoin, or why Bitcoin, why not crypto. So all of those things, just the generational shift of our economies as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, when I learned that the currency is not backed by gold, I mean, like first of all, I didn't really have this concept many years ago. Like, I didn't really think about how money works. I didn't know like decades ago it was actually backed by gold. So like, I thought it was just like some government promise. But like, I'm sure a lot of people learn how scammy the whole government around the world, so not just specific countries but like around the whole world, because like every government is just the same. If there is a magical button of printing more money, everyone would use it. So like I wonder if you could share some story from a woman, maybe like after joining Bitcoin Her, there's any interesting story that they gain from attending all these events or maybe from these workshops? Maybe you could share a little bit more.
So story about a particular woman. I don't have one related to the recent luncheon, but I do have this one. India is a place of 15-minute services, so you get a lot of those. And I had to get ready for my Bombay luncheon, so uh, I called for an urban club help service, and she's somebody I invite her very often for these things. Interestingly, this was the first time she told me her story about being from a very wealthy family, being well read, a postgraduate from a very prestigious university in India, and deep down to doing this because she had a love marriage. Parents opposed it, and the guy wasn't good with her, and she had to leave that marriage for her kid. And that's when I told her about Bitcoin and told her about high time preference and everything else. And somehow I saw her realizing that in a split second, because she's been taking care of her family, of her son, of herself for a very long time. And it instantaneously hit for her. And she's like, okay, but how do I get started? That's that was the power I felt that information, correct information, well framed information carries. And it wasn't for get rich quick. This I'm very sure of. It wasn't in her head as well. It was never for get rich quick. It was her to preserve wealth for her son's further education, for the well being of the future, and all those things. And I was honestly quite fascinated when that happened.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. Yeah, so I wonder, since in a Indian culture, I notice a lot of people tend to trust gold a lot, like buying gold accessories. So when you talk to the community, how did you convince them? Okay, maybe Bitcoin perhaps a better option than having that gold accessories around your wrist or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we did have this bit of discussion while we were there, and a lot of people do not know, or they do know, but they do also fail to realize that gold is not open source. Gold cannot be verified by bare eyes, and it's subject to a lot of adulteration. Coming from one such background myself, I know that gold can be highly adulterated if you don't know what you're getting into. So that was one major points of them feeling like, okay, Bitcoin's better than gold. And second thing, gold as an accessory doesn't always carry the best worth. It's not the purest form. I mean, if you're wearing a chain around your neck or a bracelet around your wrist, all of that's all of that gold is not 22 carat for sure. It's 18 carat or lesser, because otherwise it won't be as shiny, as beautiful as it is. I mean, gold as an investment is only good as gold biscuits, but most people do not buy gold biscuits. They buy gold jewelries, gold accessories. It can be stolen. It is all subject to wear and tear as well. So you cannot always, it's not easily liquid as well. So when we were having all of those discussions on the table, we figured that Bitcoin is most certainly a better choice. Also, interestingly, a lot of people did not know why Bitcoin has so much of value, which is because of its 21 million supply cap. While gold remains also equally difficult to mine, restrained supply, but we don't know the exact supply cap of gold. So that is also something that makes Bitcoin most certainly a better choice over gold.
Yeah, you did raise some really valid points between gold and also Bitcoin. But right now, I want to dive deeper into the tax structure of India. Do you guys have any inheritance tax or?
No, for right now, we have Bitcoin gain tax. Actually, the inheritance tax was abolished some time ago, I think a couple of decades ago. And since it's not been reinstated, it may be, because there are active discussions around in the parliament for that. So we don't know. It may be reinstated. But as far as the taxation on Bitcoin goes, it's the 30% TDS and 1% on every transfer. Like that's a TDS, so refundable.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, since you have met so many amazing people in the Bitcoin space, so when these people attend the workshop, would they ask a question like, since India doesn't have any inheritance tax and Bitcoin, they're going to take away 30% of my gain, maybe the no-brainer is still gold. Like, how would you basically educate them and let them know, okay, maybe this tax will slow down adoption, but eventually Bitcoin pros and cons, pros still overweight the cons?
Yeah, so 30% tax is most certainly something that discourages people from getting into Bitcoin. And everybody's like, okay, I'm going to have to anyways give away the 30% that I make out of it. That's where I think in most of my conversation, I try to create a shift in the perspective for money. And I like them to think in more of a Bitcoin as money terms than fiat as money terms. Also, whenever I tell somebody about Bitcoin, I make sure to tell them to not liquidate for the next 5 years. So next 5 years, the law could change. That's how I try to motivate them that, listen, 5 years, the law could change. Anyways, you shouldn't liquidate before 5 years. 5 is a long term. Also, don't try to liquidate your Bitcoin. You wouldn't try to liquidate your gold unless and until it was a really, really, really dire situation. Similarly with Bitcoin, try to avoid liquidating it. Not also trying to promote the fact that we should all hold it and not transact in it. We should definitely transact in it. But then as much as you can, you should hold it. That's the way I think. That's my workaround, at least, for the taxation right now.
Amazing. So I wonder for Bitcoin, what is the big plan, next milestone for the community?
Okay, so we have just started with the luncheon series. The first one happened in Bombay. Now the next one is in Bangalore, and like that, 5 more cities to go. I think the next milestone would be to have these 5 successful first. And if these 5 are successful, then maybe I'll host a party for all the members of Bitcoin Host, like a 2-day getaway for all of us, just talking about money in a villa somewhere city. So that's my next milestone. Sounds a bit fun, but then yeah, that's a milestone for me.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fun, but here come another fun question to ask you to end our segment. So, my final question, if you could orange pill one very influential person in India, who would that be?
One very influential person in India. Mhm. Nikhil Kamath.
I'll say that again.
Nikhil Kamath. He's the founder of a platform called Zerodha over here, and he is a very famous podcaster as well. Apparently, his podcast been a great deal of influence on people's financial decisions.
Sounds good. I mean, I hope he is watching this show here on Roxham TV. So it has been a great time talking to you. If our community want to know more about what you do, basically the developments of the Bitcoin community in India, where's the best way to reach out to you?
Twitter, X, sorry, formerly Twitter, now X. X is the best platform to reach out to me. You have the Twitter handle of my page over here, and then there's also Bitcoin Her. So you could follow either of these two and connect with me. Just shoot me a DM if you want to connect.
Amazing. So, guys, there you have it, the Bitcoin girl on Twitter. So, thank you guys for your time and joining us today. We still have more amazing shows from our other guests here on Roxham TV. As for my show, it's from Monday to Friday, starting at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, guys.